What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and this is Does It Suck? The show where we take a deep dive look at a new game and see what's good or bad about it. Now, today is going to be a bit special because we're talking about Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. This is a game that's coming out on December 7th and is being made by Ubisoft, and the developers have allowed me to play about 2 hours of the game itself, exploring landscapes, doing a lot of combat, and, well, flying through some very beautiful environments. And I wanted to kind of give my thoughts because I must admit, I am very surprised that this is good. Not to insult the developers or Ubisoft in general, it's just that I don't know anything about Avatar. I mean, even though both the movies have made over $1 billion, I haven't watched the films, I haven't played the old Avatar game. I went into this completely blind, just hoping for a good game, and that's exactly what this is. It's pretty much just Far Cry in space, but let's break down the 2 hours I've had with the game and what about this is just so good and bad. If you enjoy this, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already, but let's dive deep. Now, the setting of this game is very interesting. I mean, as a person that's coming at this completely out of nowhere, this is on a planet called Pandora with these big blue aliens called the Na'vi. Now, the beauty of this game is definitely very apparent. The ecosystems, the little tiny details of leaves blowing in the wind and glowing plants, that's all nice, but something about this that immediately struck me is that it has such a natural cohesion to it. As you explore these environments, it does feel like the best Far Cry games, where there's always something to do. There's always a random fight you can get into, a random side quest you can pick up, or a random big objective you can try and grind and kill and level up to prepare for. But in this game, you're playing as a person that doesn't really fit in with the typical Na'vi power structure. This is a tribal species. They're kind of just hanging out in the woods, eating berries, and being sort of hippies. I respect that. I think all the Na'vi I got a chance to work with were pretty cool. They're kind of relaxed. It seems like their only real worry in life is the fact that there's these evil sky people, which are, of course, humans, which are called the RDA. Now, the reason that our character is kind of strange compared to the other Na'vi is that we have been kidnapped for the last several years and been trained by the RDA. They were trying to make like a super soldier program, but with their alien Na'vi to drop back in and kill their fellow brothers and sisters. So coming into this, you are now coming out of cryosleep and trying to fit in, trying to basically make things right and say, okay, I realize the RDA are bad. I'm willing to team up and fight back, but I don't understand stuff. So what's interesting about this game is that to somebody like me that doesn't know this world, and doesn't know the tribes and power structures and stuff, I like the fact that while they're explaining it to our custom character, it's also getting explained to us. Now, one of the first missions I did was trying to tame this big bird thing. The Na'vi have like this weird tentacle tail thing that they can stick into an animal, and if it trusts you, you mind meld. You're like connected for life. Doing this, it's like a very official tradition. It's about conquering your fears. It's about having that trust with this creature. It's about making this lifelong bond. And once you do that, not only is this an incredibly long, in-depth mission that has you climbing a mountain, solving puzzles, and getting a chance to soak up the beautiful floating islands of Pandora, but once you can fly, this demo I played became 50 times cooler. You can just press call bird and instantly go flying. And I mean, you can just see it. It's pretty freaking glorious. Now, something I liked about this was the fact that there's different layers of environments on top of each other. So you'll have like cool swamps you're trekking through, trying to make medicines or help out people investigating local mysteries, but you can just fly to high up floating platforms or some of these big sky cities, even meeting up with characters and having entire conversations on the tops of some floating peaks. And it looks incredibly cool, but more importantly than that, I want to talk about the ground gameplay with specificity on the combat, and of course, how good it feels to fly. Now, during the course of my couple hours with the game itself, I really appreciated the fact that everything is just so obviously apparent. And what I mean by that is that the controls are so tight, they're so fluid, they're so easy to immediately pick up. This is a first-person shooter, which is kind of weird because it's about hippies hanging out and trying to defend their honor, and yet I can bust out a machine gun and start headshotting humans. But what's great about this game is that there's different styles of weapons. Stuff that's more traditional and Navi, which is stuff like bows and spears and explosive arrows, which you can craft. But additionally, there is the more standard RDA human weapons, sniper rifles, grenades, machine guns, and stuff like that. And both of them feel good, but personally, I ended up really enjoying the bows more. Something is really cool about seeing a big robot or a mech suit or just a couple humans on patrol in the jungle and getting out a bow that's like literally 6 feet wide and watching them go fly back. I mean, it never gets old. Now, I'm not allowed to show you two specific things in this demo, but I want to talk about it, which is the map, which was huge, but I think it's kind of spoilery. I mean, if you saw the map, you'd see kind of how long the game is. I mean, honestly, it looks like this game is going to be something people are going to be playing for 60 to 80 hours at least. But the other part of it was there is a skill tree. There's different skill trees for flight skills, for crafting skills, for sneaking skills, and for combat skills. I put a bunch of talent points that just upped my bow damage, and it felt great. I mean, I like a game that makes you feel strong, where as you're leveling up, your character is progressing in the way you want. There's something so gratifying about being able to sneak around and take out targets in this game. I mean, one of the final missions I did in the demo was trying to take out a very big base that was filled with like probably about 50 dudes, all in this big, muddy, like trench ditch factory thing. And I had to shut down a bunch of sections of this power grid. And doing this required that not only do I stay out of sight and out of mind, but when I took targets out, I had to drop them fast. But as good as this combat is, I do think the one thing that felt kind of weird on a PlayStation 5 controller was the weapon swapping. Now, for the most part, you have like this good little grid. You know, it's your main weapons. But what didn't feel super good is that the way you get out specific tools like grenades, or if you're trying to get out your hacking tool, you do this by pressing button combinations. Like getting out your hacking tool is L1 plus triangle, whereas getting out your grenades mid-combat is L1 plus square. Now, this doesn't just break the flow of combat or anything like that, but even after 2 hours, it never felt natural. Getting out a tool to try and hack something and playing the little silly hacking minigame, it never felt intuitive. It always felt very manual, whereas the rest of the game does feel very fluid. And this also goes for the feeding for some reason. There's like a food menu, so when you're flying on your mount or just on foot, you can choose to pick up food. You can grab berries, grab delicious space bananas and stuff like that, or eat intergalactic honeycomb, and this boosts your stamina so you can sprint further or your mount can fly faster. But opening this, you open up the weapons menu and then scroll to a separate tab that's basically a weapons menu for food. Again, it doesn't feel clunky per se, but it doesn't feel natural. I got a feeling that on PC, this is going to feel a lot better because you can make quick keys. You got a million keyboard buttons. You'll just be able to press a button for a specific piece of food or a potion or an explosive arrow. On controller, though, with some weapon wheels, it feels a little bit strange at times. The best part about this game, though, is definitely just when you're getting a chance to soar around. The flying in this not only looks cool, but it feels great. There's so much information that just comes through in the gameplay, from the blasting of the wind to the slight wrinkle on the screen to convey that speed. And when you fly to like a big platform and hack some like satellite outpost that's pissing off local bees and stuff like that, these hippie quests feel badass because you're stopping these giant robots and space military dudes with a bow and arrow and a flying pterodactyl looking thing. This almost makes me want to watch the Avatar movies, because if they're this cool, suddenly I kind of care, at least a little bit. All of this is super cool, but I think I'm curious to see how this can be stretched into a full game, because I didn't get a chance to mess with the options. The developers would not let me actually go in and start messing with functions, but there were some tiny visual things that I didn't super like, a little motion blur kind of stuff, a little bit of color balance stuff I wish I could have tinkered with. And one of the features to me that just is not my style is that apparently Na'vi have some sort of like psychic bond. There's like a Na'vi vision thing. So there's like this glow in the center of your screen when there's nearby life forms, which can be your fellow tribesmen or like other clan members of the Na'vi. But it can also be like, of course, evil humans nearby or a big animal or something like that. And I guess in universe, it's cool that we have like this life sense. But I think it looks kind of weird. Maybe if I start playing it for hours and hours and hours, I'll adapt to this center green glow. But it's a bit weird to me, just having this constant glow on screen. To me, who doesn't know anything about the Na'vi, it's a bit odd. Overall, I really did enjoy the game. I really am excited to play it and review it now, because this 2 hours was a good scratching of the surface. I want to level up. I want to max out some skill trees. I want to figure out how we're going to kill all these RDA bastards. But what do you guys think about it? Are you excited for Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.